According to the bold and the beautiful teasers, Hope Logan may shout 6 furious words in response to Carter Walton's betrayal of Daphne Rose. It seems obvious that Carter would succumb to temptation, so let's talk about Hope's reaction when her engagement falls apart. Hope has misgivings about exposing her heart to Carter again after their Forrester takeover plan failed. Hope had excellent reasons to keep her defenses up, given her ongoing anguish from what happened with Daphne. However, Liam Spencer persuaded Hope to yield to her feelings for Carter and give their relationship another opportunity. That resulted in Hope and Carter's reconciliation, and with it, their wedding plans. Unfortunately, Daphne's return to Los Angeles will spark some love turbulence. B&B has plainly brought Daphne back to disrupt Hope and Carter's happily ever after. Carter and Hope have always had a tenuous relationship. The show did not give Hope and Carter enough time to develop, so it's not shocking that someone like Daphne can come along and wreck things. Daphne continues to gaze at Carter as if she wants to pull his clothes off, thus the potential for serious trouble is clear. This is especially true given Carter's flirtatious behavior with Daphne when she returned to Forrester Creations. Daphne will most likely make another play for Carter soon, and they may end up kissing or even sleeping together. I want to catch Carter and Daphne in the act, as B&B like doing soapy moments like that. Whatever the case, Carter's devotion will be tested in the coming weeks, and he may fail. Hope may face grief if Carter eventually gives in and cheats on Daphne. If it happens, Hope may utter the 6 furious words we hinted at. I never should have trusted you again. This could lead to Hope venting her rage and wishing she had stood firm instead of agreeing to the Carter reunion. The sky outside was cloudy, the clouds heavy with the promise of a storm, but it was nothing compared to the hurricane raging inside Hope's chest. She stood in the center of her living room, arms clasped across her chest, as if she were keeping herself together and her bones might give way otherwise. Her breath came in short bursts, and her heart pounded a constant beat in her ears. She knew there was something wrong. She was not stupid, she was simply in love. And that, it appeared, had been the most serious mistake of all. The photos had arrived anonymously. Not digital ones. Someone took the time to print these. Glossy. Color. Clear. No ambiguity, no guesswork. It was Carter, indisputably him, the slope of his jaw, the curve of his mouth, his favorite leather jacket zipped halfway. Daphne, of course, wore her distinctive black hair in a high bun whenever she wanted to impress someone. They weren't simply standing together. They weren't simply talking. They were kissing. Hope had been staring at the images for a long time. Not only one or two. A complete scene, as if someone had been following them and documenting the treachery frame by frame. She went cold first. Not angry, just numb. And then a fire sparked in her blood, causing her vision to fade. The images fell from her fingertips and landed on the floor, a jumbled gallery of misery. Hours later, Carter stepped in the door as if nothing had occurred. His keys jingled in his grasp, his hair was disheveled by the wind, and his lips parted to say something simple, perhaps "Hey babe" or "Sorry I'm late." But he didn't get the opportunity. Hope's look met him halfway across the room, and he paused in mid-step, scanning the room until his gaze fell on the images. "Hope," he began, his voice already dipping into the low, soothing pitch he used to defuse a quarrel. But Hope did not want to remain calm. She did not want logic. She wanted the truth, and she wanted it to be as raw as possible. "I trusted you," she replied, her voice soft but sharp with grief. "I can explain." Her hand slashed through the air like a sword. "Don't." He opened his mouth again, but she was already approaching him with 6 images in her hand, like incriminating evidence in a trial. She lifted them one by one, watching his face twitch with remorse and awareness as they slid away. The 5th one made him flinch. Daphne's hand buried in his hair, eyes closed, countenance lost in the moment. "You said it was over between you and her," Hope murmured. "You said I didn't have to worry about her anymore." "It was," Carter maintained. It was a mistake." She laughed sharply without humor. "A mistake." Her voice crackled. "You kissed her like if you meant it. As if I were never real to you." His voice lowered to a whisper. "It didn't mean anything." "Then why did you do it?" He did not respond, which was worse than any apology he could have made. For a moment quiet reigned. The air was heavy and suffocating. She saw it all now, the late nights, the vague justifications, and Daphne's smug little smile. Hope had ignored the signs because she refused to trust them. Because loving Carter had been like breathing, natural and necessary. And suddenly it felt like I was drowning. He reached for her stupidly, as if a palm on her shoulder could undo what he had done. She recoiled. Her cheeks hardened, and her jaw ached from clenching. Then she said it. 6 angry words thrown out like venom. You don't get to lie anymore. Carter's hand dropped to his side. He appeared astonished, as if she had hit him. Perhaps he still felt she would forgive him. That was the problem. He wasn't sure what he had broken. Hope moved back, her eyes hazy but angry. You used me, she explained. You made me feel safe just so you could shatter it. He stroked the back of his neck, as if it might alleviate the weight of guilt. I hope it was a lapse. I'm not sure what I was thinking. I was intoxicated, and Daphne. Don't you dare blame her. Hope's voice ripped right through his excuses. You weren't drinking in every photo. You didn't appear perplexed. You seemed content. You looked like a man who had everything he wanted. I didn't mean to hurt you. But you did. And you stayed at it. The truth lay between them, ugly and brutal. There was no going back. Flowers and meaningless apologies will not fix it. Whatever was going on between them had died the moment he let someone else in. I need you to leave, she explained. Carter appeared surprised. Hope and wait. Let us simply sit down and discuss. There's nothing left to say. He made a timid step forward. You're really going to throw all of this away over one mistake? One mistake. She was trembling now, not from terror, but from the sheer strain of keeping herself from shouting. It's not only the kiss. It's the lie. Sneaking around. The fact that you made me feel crazy for suspecting anything was wrong. I love you. No, you don't, she said, which was the most truthful thing either of them had uttered that night. You enjoy having someone who makes you feel like a nice person. Someone believes in you. But you do not love me. Because if you had, you would not have done this. Carter stood motionless, every defense falling. You need to go, she said again, this time with determination. He nodded slowly, his eyes filled with sadness, but she felt no sympathy for him. Not anymore. She had wasted too much sympathy on individuals who did not deserve it. As the door clicked shut behind him, the silence resumed, but it wasn't suffocating. It was cleaning. She returned to the living room, gathering up the photos and shoving them into a drawer. Not to forget them. Not yet. But she didn't have to see them anymore. She understood what they meant. She sat down on the couch and stared blankly out the window. Rain had begun to fall. Soft at first, then hard. It tapped on the glass like a lullaby for the broken-hearted. She did not cry. Not right away. She felt too hollow to cry. The grief would come later, when the adrenaline had worn off and her hands stopped shaking. But for the time being, she allowed herself to be still and accept her own strength. For far too long, she had determined her worth through his eyes, through the way he smiled when he saw her, the warmth of his arms, and the way he said forever with conviction. What about now? Now she could see him plainly. She saw herself too. She was not feeble. She was not disposable. She was tired of being the woman who provided second chances to those who had never earned their first. The next morning arrived slowly, with gray light filtering in through the slats. Hope passed through the apartment like a ghost. She made coffee despite not wanting to drink it. The apartment still smelled like him. His cologne lingered in the corridor, and his jacket hung by the door. She went through the motions. Cup, filter, water. But every clink, stride, and sound in that apartment felt like a memory waiting to be triggered. She took a deep breath and turned on some music to fill the solitude. Something soft, wordless, just enough to tell her she was still present. The texts began mid-morning. First Carter apologized, explained, and begged. She did not open them. Then from Daphne, short and nasty. You overreacted. It was going to happen eventually. You pushed him away. Hope immediately blocked her. She owed Daphne nothing. She owed Carter nothing either. By lunchtime she'd arrived at her sister's house, suitcase in hand. She couldn't stay in that apartment just yet. Perhaps not ever. It was theirs, but suddenly it felt haunted. Every place murmured memories of the past. Each room was haunted. Her sister did not ask any questions, just hugged her tightly and let her cry on her shoulder. It was the first time Hope shed tears, and they descended like a deluge. Not only for Carter. For every moment she'd hushed her own misgivings, repressed every instinct, and swallowed every lie in order to keep believing. She grieved till her chest ached, and when the sobbing subsided, she felt lighter. Not healed. However, that is only the beginning. Over the course of the next few days, she slowly and quietly put herself back together. She removed pictures. Unfollowed. He threw aside the sweatshirt he had left behind. She purchased new bedding. A new toothbrush. Little things, but they counted. She began running again. Something about the sound of her feet hitting the pavement made her feel in control. She listened to music really loudly. She watched films that made her chuckle. She allowed herself to experience everything. Rage, sadness, and relief. Because there was relief too. The weight was gone. The continual dread of what if has been replaced with the surety of never again. And one evening, as the sun sank low and painted the sky in peach and lavender, she stood by her sister's window, phone in hand, reading Carter's last message before blocking him. It said, "You'll regret walking away." She stared at it for quite some time before smiling regretfully to herself. "No," she whispered. "I won't." But she didn't. Not then. Not ever. Time did not heal everything, but it did make the anguish less severe. Hope's once constant heaviness in her chest began to seem manageable. Mornings continued to sting, those few seconds of waking when she forgot and reached for Carter's familiar shape beside her. But such memories were transient today. She wasn't crying every day anymore. She occasionally laughed sincerely, rather than as a cover. She had resumed journaling. She hadn't filled a notepad with her ideas in years, but the pages suddenly served as her quiet haven. She wrote about everything: anger, despair, recollections of their early days, things she still wanted answered but no longer expected anyone to respond to. Writing provided shape to the chaos. It did not change the past, but it helped her comprehend it. One Saturday morning, she ran into Carter's best friend, Julian, at the farmer's market. She had not expected to see anyone from that period of her life so soon. He froze when he spotted her, holding a bag of apples in one hand and a guilty expression on his face. "I didn't know," he continued before she could respond. "I swear. I would have told you." Hope nodded. "I believe you." He appeared relieved but then paused. "He's not doing well. He keeps stating he didn't appreciate what he had." She stared him in the eyes. "That's the trouble with individuals like him. They don't realize until they've burned everything down." Julian did not argue. He did not defend his friend. He only nodded, uneasy and quiet. "You look stronger," he said after a moment. "I am." And she was. That night, Hope went alone through the city, the cold breeze stroking over her skin as traffic lights blinked in unison. She ended up on a street where they used to go for coffee dates, swap laughs and make plans. But now she viewed things differently. Not through the cloud of what formerly was, but as a home that she could also call her own. The bench on the corner wasn't just for them. It was a bench where she could sit alone and feel comfortable. She was not lonely. Not really. She had herself. And after all, she understood that was enough. More than enough. When she returned to her sister's house, her phone buzzed with a message request from an unknown number. The promo stated, "If you ever want to talk, I'm..." She did not open it and erased it instead. That chapter was finished. She'd spent too long mourning a love that had rotted at its core. She was done trying to resurrect a corpse. We're done bargaining with deception. She is done sacrificing her peace to keep someone else comfortable. From now on, she would be the person she trusted the most. And as the rain fell again, gently this time like a whisper rather than a scream, Hope did not flinch. She stood near the window, gaze fixed, breathing deeply. The storm was already past, and she still stood.